Hello everyone, welcome back to another breakdown of the latest Fazbear Frights book. Now today I'm going to be going over the book 1:35 a.m. and the three stories that contained it, plus a sit tray teasing how this all ties into the game lore of Five Nights at Freddy's. So the first story, 1:35 a.m., it's very interesting because it features a character that initially was introduced in the novel verse, which is separate to the game's verse. Now, in the novel verse, this character, Ella, she was basically a stand-in for the main character, Charlie, who was revealed to be a robot. And Ella was originally somehow Charlie. She was at least a version of Charlie. Now, in this story, she is completely different in this universe where she's some kind of invisible entity that only the main character, Delilah, can see. So at 1:35 a.m., Delilah decides to set an alarm for 1:35 p.m. to wake her up for her shift at her job. However, it does not work, so she decides to throw it out. However, at 1:35 a.m. she gets woken up. So she realizes, oh, she just said it wrong. But since she threw away Ella into the dumpster, she can't find her. So every night at 1:35 a.m. she keeps on getting awoken by Ella. And as the nights progress, Ella starts to appear and becomes more and more aggressive to the point that Delilah has nervous breakdown at work and yeah, she initially goes after getting woken up at 1:35 a.m. She decides, I'm going to take the night shift to so that way she can't get woken up. However, this doesn't continue, and she starts to see Ella at her works, and then she starts getting even more paranoid. So then she moves over to her friend's house, and at 1:35 a.m. she gets haunted by Ella again, who is giving her memories of her adopted drill sergeant father. So again, so she then decides, I'm gonna go to a hotel where Ella can't find me. But this doesn't work because Ella still finds her. So it just drives her to near insanity, where she goes over to this office complex and she crawls into a vent and she gets stuck there permanently. And she's like, that's it, Ella can't find me. But I think that it is implied that Ella is eventually going to find her, and so Lila will have no way of escaping her. So yeah, in terms of lore, it muddies the water a wee bit with what is canon from the games and what is canon from the novels, but yeah, it doesn't really bring much to the table. Now, the next story was Room for More. So it's about this man named Stanley, and he begins working at Circus Baby's Pizza World, and he's working there, and then he comes across a Minorina who says, "We like you. Please take me home." And then he notices, then as he looks up around, the Minorina is gone, and he thinks nothing of it. And then he goes home, and each night he begins having nightmares about the Funtime animatronics. First Funtime Foxy, then Funtime Freddy, then Laura, and some he calls it a masked figure in like a dentist chair, then this masked figure begins winding open his jaws. So yeah, on that particular point, it's not really explained in the story what the masked figure was, but I have a theory. I've it's implied that it's either Baby or Enid, because he'd be working at Baby's Pizza World, so he'd know at least what Baby looks like. So anyway, as the story progresses, he still goes to Circus Baby's Pizza World, and he has the nightmares, but he also has the say that Amina Rena always comes up to him and says, "We like you. Please take me home." And then he starts getting really sick. His arm gets all swollen up, and he starts really sort of just failing, just getting really sick. So he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's like, we can't really find anything. So they'll just give him some antibiotics. Now, Stanley, he says in the book that he's very reluctant to go to the doctors because his father had cancer, and when he went to the doctor, he had chemotherapy, and that made his father really ill. So he has sort of this phobia of the doctors. So as the story progresses, he gets continuously sick and sick and sick until he notices the Minorina, and he notices that the night before it had a mark on its tutu, but this one didn't. Then he realized, we like you, that this is not the same Minorina, and he runs out, and then there comes a Minorina that says room for one more. So throughout all this time, the Minorinas had been crawling into him. Now, this is very similar to the Night 4 minigame of Sister Location, where Michael Afton is in a springlock suit, and you have to keep up winding the springlocks until the night is over, and also in the meantime there's Minorinas climbing basically into the springlock suit with you. So it doesn't really answer any questions. It just makes it it's just very interesting nonetheless that this is connected to Sister Location, a canon game. And also another thing that in Room for One More, Stanley, he broken up with his girlfriend, and it is revealed that it was first told to him by his sister's fiance, who said that he basically heard about it because she was found with someone else in this place called the Snack Palace or something. I can't remember quite the exact name of it, but that is the same place that Oswald's dad from Into the Pit worked at. So it implies that Room for One More and Into the Pit are in the same universe, which leads to more questions about what is canon and what isn't. Now for the next story, which brings a whole lot of lore to the table. Yeah, it's about Golden Freddy. So it's about this kid named Devon, and he has a good friend, Mick. Now, they're sort of they're pretty much, well, Devon's pretty much an asshole, and Mick has some learning disability that his parents didn't really want to know because they didn't like labels, so they just went with it. So Devon and Mick, they gain a new friend, the new kid called Kelsey. So as the story progresses, Devon becomes more and more progressively jealous of Kelsey because he makes moves on girls that Devon likes. So one day, Devon, Mick, and Kelsey go to an abandoned Freddy Fazbear location. So they find Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and a Hook, which presumably is Foxy. So then they find what they call a Yellow Freddy suit, which we all know is Golden Freddy. And then Devon says to Kelsey, why don't you try it on? But it looks good on you. And Kelsey says, okay. And he puts it on, and then he does all these rapid jerking moves, and then you hear the snap. And the spring locks just crush Kelsey, and he begins screaming until he's lying there twitching, like what you see there with Golden Freddy, exactly how he is in Ultimate Custom Night. And then it is revealed that Devon has a scar on his arm because he had previously gone to this location beforehand and knew what the Springlock suit would have done. So he effectively murdered Kelsey. However, Devon denies that, saying that he just thought he'd scare him or hurt him. So Kelsey dies, and Devon and Mick just walk away because they decide not to report it, otherwise they'll go to jail and stuff. So they're off to jail and no, they're off to school, and Devon begins feeling very guilty about what's happened. So he decides, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to the restaurant. Then he goes back to the restaurant, and then he tries to look to find Kelsey in there inside the head of Golden Freddy, but then Golden Freddy's arm just snaps shut straight on his arm, crushing it, effectively breaking it. And Devon tries to get his arm free, but he can't. And that's when he notices when he lifts the jaw up even more, he can see that because Kelsey was a blonde kid, he had blonde hair. But not the body inside Golden Freddy now. It has black curly hair. And then that's the last we hear of Devon. Then and then right at the end of the novel, we see Kelsey, the boy who had died inside Golden Freddy, is walking towards a new school, and he notices there are some bullies, and he decides to make friends with them. So this brings out a whole lot of plot revelations. And another thing we have to remember that I've forgotten to tell you is that there's a bit of a theme with justice within the new kid. In class, they're talking about the kids were told what is justice, and there's discussion about how it's payback and about that. So this is what Golden Freddy is. It's an entity of its own twisted version of justice. So it felt that it seems that Kelsey is an illusion created by Golden Freddy, who goes around and meets up with all the assholes of the school, so that it can lure the kids back to the restaurant and then kill them in a sick, twisted form of justice. Yeah, and I believe that Kelsey wasn't real it's because when Devon was looking at the blood oozing out of Kelsey, it looked like it was alive, like it was just flowing out. And it just seems that Kelsey wasn't real. Now, flying straight on to the new kid, we get more information which brings more light to literally every aspect of FNAF 4. The Stitch Wraith. So we're introduced to this character from the first story, 1:35 a.m., Phineas, who was asking about the Ella's energy. He had put on a listing because he wanted to buy an Ella doll for its energy. So he's talking about haunted objects and about how they're only haunted because of their agony. His hypothesis is that agony is so powerful that it persists. Even though someone might love something, agony still is a more powerful emotion than love, and agony is what persists. So from there, he finds a endoskeleton of what is described as bone-like structure and bone-like. So immediately, I think that means that it's an endo of a spring-lock animatronic, something that can look like a bone structure, like a human, because humans would then use the spring-lock suit. So whose endo could it be? I think it is Golden Freddy. So Phineas, he puts in uh, the endoskeleton springlock suit, and he also gets a mannequin with like markers on it, and also the heart of what he calls a dog animatronic, which is presumably Fetch. So he puts it all together, sort of like creating Frankenstein, and then he creates the Stitch Wraith. Now, to test if his theory is alive, he sets it, make it come alive, and then you see it just grabs Phineas and it just cooks it, searing agony just kills him. Black tears of blood just drain out of his eyes, just like the Stitch Wraith. And then that's where sort of the story ends, with the Stitch Wraith just escaping, and the Stitch Wraith putting on a cloak. So Golden Freddy's endoskeleton is the Stitch Wraith, or at least I think it is, or at least Spring Bonnie or another animatronics endoskeleton, but I'm pretty sure that it is Golden Freddy's endoskeleton. So here I've got Nightmare Freddy's endoskeleton, Endo Plush. I believe it's correct name, because it's the best. It's the best image that I could find to display it. So you see around the chest area, it's more human than all the other animatronics, and you can see it's got some somewhat accurate thigh and calf features. However, there's a lot of things that aren't human, like the big claws and sharp teeth, because this is a nightmare version of the endoskeleton. So, in it, and another thing that was mentioned right at the start is that the Stitch Wraith was found around a fire, and this isn't the first time that Stitch Wraith was at the fire. Now, there's only two fires that I can think of. The FNAF 3 fire at Fazbear Fright. Now, notice the name, Fazbear Frights. I think this is intentional, because Fazbear Frights is about what happened after the Fazbear Fright from FNAF 4 fire. Now, who could it be? Well, I don't think that it is William Afton, because it wouldn't be. This is an endoskeleton, not a human body. Now, the only other people it could be would be the original 5 of Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy, as they're the ones who were put to ease at the good ending, with Happiest Day. Now, however, we see in Ultimate Custom Night. Now, originally I thought that Ultimate Custom Night wasn't canon, but then everything about the new kid, about Sick Form of Justice, and Ultimate Custom Night with the one you should not have killed, it made me think, this is Golden Freddy, the sick entity that has its own twisted form of justice because it is full of agony. And that's what these books are trying to communicate. Golden Freddy is full of agony. So the Stitch Wraith, who was found around the FNAF 3 fires, is a bit more confirmation that this is Golden Freddy's endoskeleton, the one you should not have killed. Now, with the revelation that agony is what's creating all the haunted objects, then we can start to see all the other stories which we originally thought were, oh, they've got to be non-canon, this is ridiculous. It's now becoming more sense. So, revisiting the Fazbear Frights. So, Into the Pit. It's about basically a real Spring Bonnie monster. Now, you might think this is completely crazy. However, think about it. These are the children. They were killed in 1955. This is what they saw as they were dying. They didn't see a man in a suit. They saw a monster, a Spring Bonnie monster. And that's what the agony, their haunting created. And that agony was captured in the ball pit, which was likely from that era. So when Oswald went back in time, he revisited the agony. And then that's when he unleashed the agony in form. Because when you defeat the Spring Bonnie monster, it's just left with a suit. Because that's all it is, a memory. With To Be Beautiful, we see that the girl, Sarah, she only becomes trash once she only falls to pieces once she realizes that she's a robot, that the illusion is broken. Because it seems that necklace is the only thing that's keeping her together, because it's only because she believes. So when she doesn't believe, that's when because her supernatural power ceases, because that's all the hauntings are, the supernatural energy. So once that energy is broken, then she falls to pieces. Count the ways, it doesn't really change that much, because it wasn't really dealing with much in its like much energy, much lore, so it very much stays the same. With Vetch, well, it's just a killer AI robot. However, because Vetch is now connected to the Stitchwave story, it does make you think, is it canon? Same with Into the Pit, who is now connected to Room for One More. What is canon? Lonely Freddy, well, the only it's funny that Lonely Freddy is now here, because I previously didn't know that the character Alec was very much a copy and paste of Foxy Bro. Now I'm still thinking about how this could be connected to the lore, but it only implies that Foxy Bro is Fred Plush. However, I'll get to Fred Plush later, because I don't think that Foxy Bro is Fred Plush, but I do think that it's interesting to keep Lonely Freddy in mind, and also keeping in mind about the soul trapped in these toys, the plushes at the end, their agony. Out of stock, not much changes that much. It's still just a killer plush trap, unless it is the agony of maybe the protagonist of FNAF 4, but again, it's a stretch. 1:35 a.m. Now, this is the agony of Delilah, it was said at her, she was orphaned at a young age, and she went through foster homes, and one of the foster homes that she went to was a drill sergeant guy, and he had an alarm, and that alarm becomes at the later stages of 1:45 a.m. is the revisited agony of her time at the foster home, where only her and her good friends in the present time, where they both grew up. Room for One More, it it doesn't really change, but there is still the agony, but not as heavy as the new kid, where we have Golden Freddy, who is all powerful because it went through probably one of the most painful deaths of all of the animatronics, a Springlock failure. That is why Golden Freddy and Springtrap are one of the most powerful, that they never seem to die, because they are powerful because of their agony. Now, as a final into this video, I'm going to discuss FNAF 4 and how it might reveal how the Fazbear Frights might have revealed something huge with the new kid. So with FNAF 4 we have the Fredbear plushie walks who keeps on following Beavy. And this keeps happening until Beavy gets crushed by Fredbear. Now I'm thinking, what if the Fredbear plush is an illusion or created by Golden Freddy, just as how Kelsey was an illusion created by Golden Freddy? Then that line, "I'll put you back together," starts to really make sense, because Golden Freddy brought Kelsey back. Now, Kelsey might not be real, however, Beefy, we see that Golden Freddy is all powerful. Now, the puppet could only trap souls into animatronics. However, Golden Freddy, who is more powerful because of it was in more agony, that it could theoretically bring Beefy back. Now, if Beefy is brought back, it means that MikeBot is debunked. However, Mike Victim is still possibly canon. So it's a bit of a stretch, but it's still something to think about. And also, there's another two Fierce Beer Fright books coming out, Step Closer and Bunny Call, until it turns out that there's another two. So it's like the Five Nights at Freddy's, where there's originally 5 nights, then there's 2 additional nights, and now there's originally 5 books of Fazbear Frights, and then there's an additional 2. So I think that the last book of Fazbear Frights is going to be Ultimate Custom Law. I don't know. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. And also, I'm thinking of maybe expanding theories. I don't know, maybe talking about TV shows, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Just let me know in the comments what you want me to discuss. And yeah, see you next time for Step Closer.